This is the new updated BYD Atto 3, and even though it might look remarkably like its predecessor, it has exactly the same dimensions with what looks like just a bit of a facelift here and there. Well, it's actually almost a completely new car, both in terms of software, drivetrain, and battery. So let me tell you a bit more about it. Before I take the Atto 3 out on the road, here's a quick summary of the changes. The car still uses BYD's own blade battery technology, but the capacity has been boosted from 60.4 kilowatt-hours net to now 74.8 kilowatt-hours. It might not sound like a revolution on paper, but in practice it means that the official WLTP range increases from 420 kilometers to 510 kilometers in the standard version. The motor has also received an upgrade. There's more horsepower in the standard design model, which has also become rear-wheel drive. And now, the top-of-the-line Excellence model comes with all-wheel drive. The Excellence model also adds a panoramic sunroof, head-up display, and heated rear seats. And, of course, even more horsepower due to the extra motor on the front wheels, so it does 0 to 100 in 3.9 seconds. The charging speed has also been upgraded. While the old model could only fast charge at a measly 80 kilowatts, the new model handles up to 220 kilowatts, which means that charging from 10 to 80% should be done in 25 minutes, even with the larger battery. Unfortunately, the charging port has now moved from the right front fender to the right rear fender, which I personally don't think is an improvement. But on the other hand, it's great that the car has finally got a frunk, and even a decent size at 95 liters. And the tailgate has been changed, so it opens higher up when you need access to the 510-liter trunk. Just like in the previous version, the Atto 3 is available with a tow bar, but while the old model could only tow a maximum of 750 kilos, the new one can tow up to 1,500 kilos on the hook in both the rear-wheel drive and all-wheel drive versions. Inside, the Atto 3 is still true to its somewhat special design, with rubber strings in the door and the special round door handles. But the choice of materials and technology has been cleaned up, and both screens in the car have become larger. The biggest news, however, is that the infotainment system now runs Google Automotive with Google Maps, Google Assistant, and Google Play Store built in. It's one of the best systems when it comes to route planning and voice control, so it's a huge improvement. Of course, there's still wireless Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, and the wireless charger has been upgraded to 50 watts. The standard design model costs 280,000 kroner and the top Excellence model 20,000 kroner more, and that's all inclusive unless you want it in a color other than the standard one. But how is it out on the road? Now, I've never tried driving the old version of the Atto 3, but this new version actually handles very well on the road. It's got upgraded front suspension, and it also weighs a little bit more because of the larger battery, so it actually sits very well on the road, and I don't think the suspension is too soft either. So, it doesn't lean that much in the corners. Now, driving dynamics aren't usually something I focus on, but it actually feels quite good to drive. Another huge upgrade is in the software, which, as mentioned, now has Google Automotive. The same system I have in my Renault Megane, for instance, for navigation and also for installing apps from the Play Store. I haven't been able to test installing apps because I've only had the car for a short time and it's not connected to the Play Store. And actually, it keeps popping up and telling me all the time that it has no internet connection. So when I try to use the voice assistant, it says, you need an internet connection first, and then you have to download a voice pack. I don't know if it's because this press car is so new that it's not fully set up yet and isn't online. It looks like there's an internet connection if I look up at the display. But the software doesn't really work. It simply says that it can't find the network. And I don't know if that's also the reason why its estimate for arrival state of charge is completely and utterly off. Normally, Google Automotive is really good at calculating arrival state of charge. I've driven to Italy with it several times, and it's almost always 100% accurate within a very few percent. But in this case, when I was driving north in the car, I set my home address and the car estimated I'd arrive with 35%, even though I had 99% battery. So that was completely wrong. I arrived with 95% and not 35%. And now that I'm driving back to Copenhagen, well, right now I have 87% charge left on the battery. I only have 14 kilometers left, and yet it says I'll arrive with 32%, even though I have 87. So there's something very wrong with the estimate where either BYD hasn't quite calibrated the Google system for the car yet, or it's because of that missing internet connection that it can't really figure it out. I simply don't know, because I've only had the chance to drive the car for a relatively short time today. On the other hand, I'd say with the assistance systems, it still feels like they're not quite up to par. At least on this short test drive, I haven't been able to get the car to automatically adjust its speed to the speed limits. It can see what the speed limits are, it can see the signs, and then it gives a little beep, and then I have to press down on this little stalk over here, just like it's been in all the other BYD cars. I simply don't understand why they still don't do automatic speed adjustment. Most other cars can do that today, or at least a lot of them, and I think at the very least it should be an option. It might be that BYD thinks you should confirm manually, because it's still not always the case that cars guess the correct speed. But I'd actually like the option for the car to adjust it itself. Let me choose that. Then I can turn it off if I don't think it works well enough, and use the manual one here. The most positive thing, you could say, is that it makes a sound when it sees a new speed limit, and it's fairly easy to hear, so you're actually alerted, oh, maybe I should just check, has it chosen the right one? Yes, then I press the button. So it's a bit better than at least in the Dolphin Surf, where that sound was non-existent or at least almost impossible to hear. Another thing that hasn't immediately improved is the indication for this intelligent cruise control, which is the auto steering. This little blue indicator down here tells me if the car is steering for me. If it loses the lines, or if I pull the wheel a bit so it stops steering, it downgrades to ACC, it says. But then it turns black up there. But if I turn it off completely, now I'll try pressing here to turn it off completely, so it has neither adaptive cruise control nor cruise control. Well, then the indication looks the same. It really should just disappear. I mean, this little icon down here should disappear if I don't have anything activated at all. Because now I can't tell, is it because I turned it off completely, or is it because it just can't see the lines? Now I'm activating it, and then it can see the lines. But it's the same indication if it can't see them. It was the same in the other BYD cars I've tried. And it's a little bit annoying, because if you're in doubt, like, oh, has it actually been turned off completely? Is that why it's not finding the lines, or is it actually looking for them? Well, then you can't actually see the difference on the display, because that little icon is always shown down there, even when you don't have the function activated at all. I think they should just hide it when it's not activated, and then let it be black when it can't see the lines but is trying to. But for now, this is how it is. So some things have improved, and some things are a bit like they used to be. It doesn't seem like the assistance systems have been vastly improved. At least not from what I've been able to judge on this short trip. The car still doesn't have a touch-sensitive steering wheel either. It uses this sensor inside, so I need to provide a bit of resistance, but it seems to be fairly well calibrated. If I just have my hand on it, it doesn't complain that often. So that's actually okay, but it was in the Dolphin Surf as well, for example. So it's probably as usual. I would have liked a touch-sensitive steering wheel, because if they can afford it in small cars like the Renault 5, then you should also be able to get it in a car costing $300,000. And it just provides extra comfort that you don't have to provide this resistance. That you have your hand on it and it can see it. I can't imagine it costs a fortune, but BYD has chosen not to do it. Fortunately, they are among the better ones at calibrating it. The software, on the other hand, well, it looks really promising. As I said, I can't really test Google Automotive or Google Maps because it doesn't work 100%, and neither does the Google Assistant. But if it's like in other cars, it's clearly a huge improvement. The software also reacts quickly when you navigate around the different menus and the different programs. So it doesn't seem like they've skimped on the processing power in here. And that's also super nice. And then there's breaking news here in the upgraded Atto 3, because it's the first BYD that doesn't have a rotating center screen. All the other BYD cars I've tested, I think all of them that have been on the Danish market until now, they've been able to rotate the center screen, so you could have it in either landscape or portrait. I've always thought it was a bit of a gimmick, and it seems like BYD has also realized that maybe not that many people use it. It probably also has something to do with the car now having the Play Store, and if an app has to support both landscape and portrait, it makes it more complicated because it needs two different layouts. So I think it has something to do with that too. At least that's what we've been told. I also saw when I tested the Dolphin Surf that when the screen was in portrait mode, meaning vertical, well, then Apple CarPlay didn't work either, for example. You'd get a message saying you had to rotate the screen back to use Apple CarPlay. And you don't have to do that anymore because it'll just work all the time since it's always in landscape. I think that's a great decision. It makes it simpler. There's less that can break. There's no motor behind it and so on. And I think most people prefer this landscape screen where you have plenty of space. So thumbs up for that as well. Yeah, and that was my first test drive in the upgraded BYD Atto 3. You definitely get a lot more car for your money. It's really exciting, I think, with all the new features. But I'm disappointed that the driver assistants don't seem to be significantly improved. On the other hand, thumbs up for the software. But what do you think? Is it a car you might consider? And is it something I should look closer at in a future video? I don't think the driving assistant seemed to be significantly improved, so I'm not sure if it makes sense to do a full driving assistant test like I usually do on this one. But I could maybe take a closer look at the software and then a general presentation of the car where I give you some more data. Let me know what you think in the comments below. And otherwise, I just hope to see you in the next video. Bye-bye.